Elon Musk has launched rockets, built a major car company, bought Twitter and turned it into X, planted a chip in the human brain and helped Donald Trump win the presidential election. What next? What will Elon Musk do next? Will he buy a news channel? We ask because of a tweet this weekend. It was posted by Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr. He tagged Elon Musk and asked about buying a news channel. Which one? MSNBC, the liberal news network known for its anti-Trump stance. Musk replied with one question: how much does it cost? Now, it may sound like social media banter, but this is exactly how he bought Twitter 2 years ago. Needless to say, it has triggered speculation. So can and will Elon Musk buy MSNBC? Our next report tells you.
In 2017, Elon Musk tweeted, "I love Twitter." So a follower commented, "You must buy it." The Tesla CEO promptly replied, "How much is it?" 5 years later, Musk bought Twitter for a record $44 billion. Will he do the same with MSNBC now? Well, that's the question on everyone's mind. It started with a random post on X. It said that Comcast was looking to sell MSNBC. Donald Trump's son tagged Musk on that post, saying, "I have the funniest idea ever." Musk replied, "How much does it cost?" Similar to his tweet in 2017. It didn't stop at just that. Joe Rogan too commented on this. He said he wanted to replace Rachel Maddow if Musk bought MSNBC. Musk replied with a simple deal. But was this in jest, or does Musk actually want to buy MSNBC? Let's look at the network first. MSNBC was established in 1996. It was a joint venture between NBC and Microsoft. As years progressed, Microsoft divested its stakes. The network went into establishing itself as a liberal brand, moving more into opinion programming and shows led by left-leaning firebrand hosts. Right now, MSNBC is owned by NBC Universal, a subsidiary of Comcast, and it has seen its ratings tank. Since Election Day, the network averaged 550,000 viewers. That's a 39% drop in viewership. During prime time, viewership dropped by almost 53%. So the network is facing some business challenges, which is why Comcast now has a new plan. It has announced a massive spin-off of its cable properties. MSNBC, along with CNBC, will now be part of a new company. It will be called SpinCo. The separation has sparked rumors of layoffs and even changing the brand's identity. Beyond that, MSNBC fears backlash, especially from the new Trump administration. Their coverage of Trump has been critical, and the network thinks it could harm them. So, 2 weeks ago, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski arrived at Mar-a-Lago. They're the hosts of popular MSNBC show Morning Joe. This was their explanation.
Joe and I realized it's time to do something different, and that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump but also talking with him. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so. What we did agree on was to restart communications.
But the reason was clear enough. They feared legal harassment, or at least some blowback, which is why the sit-down with the future US president, who they have relentlessly criticized during the last 4 years. Now, a sale of MSNBC is unlikely. Comcast isn't looking to sell the entity or even part with it. But the Trump administration has other alternatives. Take the new Comcast deal. It will move everything to a new company, but it needs financing to back it. That could mean two things. Either it would sell an existing entity or partner up with another company. This deal will require approval, especially from the Department of Justice. And guess who can delay the approval? The Trump administration. During his first term, Trump tried to block AT&T's takeover of CNN. This time, MSNBC could be staring at trouble. So, will Elon Musk really buy MSNBC? Probably not. But if history has taught us anything, never say never. Because with Musk, every tweet could be a billion-dollar idea.
I told you Jen was here. Yes, we are 1 month away from Christmas. We're resting Jen's voice a little bit, but the Canada Post strike lingers on, and that means the window is closing on restoring mail service in time to get cards, letters, and gifts sent out and delivered.
CB24's Steve Ryan is at the Canada Post Depot at Progress Avenue in Scarborough this morning with more. Good morning, Steve.
Jen, good morning. As you can see from our chopper shot above, this is an active picket line here on the Progress Avenue location where the members of this union here for Canada Post have been on strike now for 10 days. 55,000 workers in total. And since they've gone on strike, there's been a shortage of 8 million parcels across the country. And as we've been saying, Christmas is now 1 month away. And there is concern that a lot of cards, parcels will not get to where they're going as they typically do this time of year. So things that the union are asking for are improved wages, a better job security, pensions, and contract work as well. Many of the workers I spoke with this morning off camera have been quite adamant, saying that, yes, they've been offered 11.5% over 4 years. They have been asking for 24%. And it's not just about the money. It's about job security and pensions. As one guy said to me just a few minutes ago, the 11.5% does him no good if there is no job for him to come to or if his pension disappears. So these are some of the issues that this union says that they are going to continue to fight for and remain on this picket line until such time that things are dealt with fairly. Now, I did speak with the shop steward earlier on this morning. He's on this picket line as well. And here's what he said to me. Let's listen.
They were asking for 24%. For the union, but if we got something like 16, 17, I'm sure the employees would be happy with that. However, apparently both sides aren't budging right now on stuff. Canada Post won't even talk to us on issues.
There is a rally here at the noon hour, Nick, and many other union members from other locals will be here, as will local politicians as well. I'll send it back to you.
Okay, that is our Steve Ryan live this morning in Scarborough. Appreciate the update there. Thank you, Steve.
At least 6 people were killed, 10 wounded in a violent armed attack in the southeastern Mexican state of Tabasco. The shooting took place at a bar in the state capital, Villahermosa. Witnesses say a group of armed individuals entered the bar, seemingly targeting a specific person. The group opened fire, hitting several bystanders. Authorities say 5 of the victims were found dead at the scene, while the 6th died shortly after being taken to a hospital. Local officials have confirmed that an investigation is underway. While the motive behind the attack remains unclear, they have suggested that it may not be linked to organized crime, though that theory has not been ruled out entirely. While there have been no arrests so far, federal authorities have pledged full cooperation with local law enforcement to bring those responsible to justice. This incident comes just 2 weeks after a similar attack in the central state of Querétaro, which left 10 dead and 7 injured. Tabasco, which is known for its oil production, has seen a dramatic rise in violence over recent months. Between January and October this year, there have been 715 murders, a sharp increase compared to just 253 recorded in all of 2023.
At least 17 people are missing after a tourist boat sank in the Red Sea, Egyptian officials said Monday. The governor of the Red Sea region said rescuers saved 28 people from the vessel south of the coastal town of Marsa Alam. 31 tourists of various nationalities were on board the vessel along with 14 crew, according to the authorities. The governorate received a report shortly before dawn Monday of a distress call made from the boat, which had left Marsa Alam for a 5-day journey. It wasn't immediately clear what caused the 4-deck vessel to sink.
Like Donald Trump no longer faces charges connected to the January 6th U.S. Capitol riot. And that is number 1 in our top 4 at 4 this afternoon. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a motion today to drop all 4 felony counts against Trump in his connection to overturning the 2020 election. The office called for the charges to be dismissed ahead of his inauguration. That is in line with the Justice Department's longstanding position it cannot charge a sitting president. In a statement, a Trump spokesperson called the ruling a major victory for, in their words, the rule of law.
It's not even summer yet, and we're being warned of possible blackouts. Our electricity grid set to be put to the test from tomorrow. Temperatures will nudge 40 degrees by Wednesday. Compounding the problem, a lack of energy supply, with critical generators offline for maintenance.
Soaring temperatures often mean one thing: soaring demand for electricity. Trouble is, that supply is lacking right when we need it.
We've had early reports that the grid could be under a lot of pressure. I acknowledge that. We will be as quick as possible with updates to the community about potential interruptions with supply.
AEMO, the Australian energy market operator, issued the warning of tight electricity supply forecasts in New South Wales tomorrow and Wednesday afternoon. While tomorrow will be hot, Wednesday will be hotter, with heatwave warnings in place for both days.
So if you are across eastern New South Wales, unfortunately, we will need to wait until at least Wednesday night and Thursday for relief, but that will come in the way of heavy showers and storms and rain from Thursday.
And that means a surge in people switching on air conditioning, just as power generation units at 3 out of 4 of the state's ageing coal-fired power stations are offline for maintenance or repair. Greater demand, reduced supply, a recipe for outages.
We've got to manage the grid. That becomes particularly difficult when you have multiple days above 30.
On really hot days, do you really need to have every single light on in the house? Do you need to have your air conditioning, up, down at 19 degrees?
Late this afternoon, AEMO advised that energy reserves had improved after transmission outages were cancelled, but if electricity supply forecasts do deteriorate, it'll take all necessary measures. Eddie Meyer, 9 News.
9 News reporter Ruth Wynne-Williams is at Lake Parramatta tonight. Ruth, it's expected to be one of the hotspots for those looking to cool off.
It is set to scorch, Pete, and that means Western Sydney waterways, just like this one, are going to be the place to be. It is worth noting Penrith Beach hasn't yet reopened for the season, so stick to swimming pools, rivers and lakes like this one, Lake Parramatta, if you're in areas like this that will be copping the worst of it. The advice for people who can't make it to the water, if you want to save power at home, head to air-conditioned public spaces, Pete, like shopping malls.
All right, Ruth, thank you. Amber's with me in the studio now. Amber, where will it be hottest?
Good evening to you, Pete. It's our western suburbs that will bear the brunt of the heat, but temperatures will soar right across the Sydney Basin. Starting tonight, it will be at least 4 degrees warmer than usual. At midnight, it will still be around 23 degrees in Penrith, 22 in Richmond, Parramatta and the city, 21 in Chatswood and 20 degrees in Sydney Olympic Park. But it's tomorrow where temperatures will really climb. Penrith and Richmond soaring to a sweltering 39 degrees. That's nearly 12 degrees hotter than average. 36 in Campbelltown and Liverpool, 35 in Parramatta, while the city and the coast will be saved by the sea breeze, but still heading for a top of 31 degrees. Incredibly, Wednesday is going to be even hotter. I'll be back with the full forecast a little later, Pete.
Amber, thank you.
Welcome back. While the plans for a second Trump term continue to come into focus, there are big questions about what could happen to mixed status families, as they're called, if those mass deportations are carried out. A mixed status family, that means some family members are undocumented while others are U.S. citizens. Well, the American Immigration Council, a pro-immigration advocacy group, estimates up to 4 million mixed status families could be separated. Now, mass deportations, of course, became one of Mr. Trump's biggest campaign promises. It's still unclear exactly how those deportations will be carried out and how families will be impacted. But we're getting some information. And we have NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joining us with her latest reporting here. Julia, good morning. So you've reported exclusively this month on a bunch of this stuff here, but that the Trump transition team specifically is eyeing new detention centers near major U.S. cities, with the goal being to hold double the amount of migrants awaiting deportation after their arrests inside the U.S. Walk us through exactly what that means. Double what? What is that number? What does that mean we might see? Are we getting a clearer image of how this is going to go down?
Right. So right now, the Congress has given ICE the ability to be able to hold 41,000 immigrants in ICE detention at one time. That doesn't mean that they can't deport more, because it's a place where they hold them before they are deported. And right now, a lot of that space is being used for migrants who have just crossed the border, they're detained, and then released later for a court date. This would use those beds in the opposite direction and double them up to 80,000. And honestly, Savannah, since that reporting, I've heard the number could be even higher. And they're in talks with private prison companies to figure out what they can do to get the most amount of beds online soon. That might mean building temporary facilities or soft-sided facilities. They've used this in the past along the border when there's an influx in order to get as many people in beds as possible. This would be for migrants who are living in the United States and are arrested and are being held before their deportation flights.
So, Julia, given what we know, I just used that term mixed status family. So some family members, U.S. citizens, others undocumented. Are we hearing what those types of people, what those groups of people are doing to plan for this?
And this is where I have to give credit to Didi Martinez, who wrote this amazing story over the weekend. I can report on these details, but Didi really gets to the heart of this. She interviewed a family, and there are many like them. We understand up to 4 million across the country that could be separated. This family she talked to in Pennsylvania is preparing for the possibility that the husband, the father of these children, could be deported. And so the mother is busy getting her children's passports. As you know, you have to have 2 parents present to get a child's passport. They're doing things like getting power of attorney. And some households, we're told, where both parents could be deported, but the children are U.S. citizens, they're putting together packets with adult contacts, where to find the nearest family member if they come home from school to an empty home, Savannah.
Julia, walk us through any legal challenges that could play out once President-elect Trump is in office and if we do start to see these mass deportations take place.
Well, there are many being prepared quietly in the background. We saw just last week the ACLU filed for freedom of information to try to get more information about what the Trump transition team is going to use for their flights when they start doing these deportations. We can expect that they're going to be very closely looking at how Trump tries to go about this. If he does enact an old law from the 1700s that would constitute immigration in the United States as an alien invasion from a foreign power, they'll very quickly challenge that, saying that's unconstitutional because clearly these migrants are not coming on behalf of a foreign government, that would be a real stretch for the Trump team to try to make that argument. They'll also look at other things, like if there are ways they go about this when they want to invoke the military, anytime that they want to push anyone back to a country that is not their own. We've seen the previous Trump administration try that in the past, take nationalities and send them to a country like Guatemala, even though if they're not from Guatemala. There are a number of ways they'll challenge it. Whether or not they can just deport someone or challenge someone just for deporting them, that seems like more of a stretch. But it's the way they'll go about it. They'll find ways to challenge it in court.
Julia Ainsley, fabulous reporting as always. Thank you very much.
Well, President-elect Donald Trump has said he plans to carry out large deportation operations in the U.S., possibly the largest in American history. But it raises the question, what impact could this have on the U.S. economy and grocery prices? Now, Kelly O'Grady she joins us. She's a CBS News Money Watch correspondent. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to talk a little bit about this because undocumented immigrants, they make up about 5% of our labor force, but they make up a larger portion when it comes to our agriculture workforce. So when it comes to these mass deportations, it's going to obviously affect our food supply. Tell us a little bit about what food or what foods would be impacted.
Yeah, so it's great to be with you, Chris. I mean, this could be really impactful when it comes to our food supply because, as you mentioned, agriculture, there are estimates that undocumented workers make up anywhere from 40 to 50%. And so really some of the foods that you could be thinking of, any of your fruits, your vegetables that require folks to be in the fields working long hours picking those. Think tomatoes, right? The vines need tending. Another big area is meat packing. Undocumented workers make up a lot of the work that happens in that industry. So everything from tending the cows to actually packing the beef that you buy at the grocery store. Fishing is another one. So really it's the gambit across, but it's the fact that so many of these folks perform these roles that many U.S. citizens don't want to. So if you think about it, if those folks go away, your labor supply decreases, you still have the same demand for the food from American citizens. And you could be in a situation where your food supply gets crunched. And of course, what happens when demand stays the same and supply goes down? Your prices go up.
Yeah, I read a lot of stories where farmers are expressing their concerns about these deportations because obviously, that affects their livelihood as well. But how quickly could these effects be felt once these mass deportations go into effect?
Well, and so that really depends on how quickly President-elect Trump chooses to carry out these mass deportations. So we have heard him say that we are going to start with the criminals and then work down from there. So in terms of whether he would get to the folks in the agriculture industry immediately, it looks like no. But once you start to see those folks get deported, if they do, I mean, you could be looking at grocery prices rising pretty quickly because some of these crops, like tomatoes, there are multiple cycles per year. And, those are being funneled to our grocery stores. So there you could see an impact. But as I said, we don't have the specific rollout for these mass deportations as of yet.
Yeah, let's talk about how much these people are getting paid, because obviously we know it costs more to pay U.S. citizens for these roles. That would also drive up the cost, especially here in California. So talk to us a little bit about what that could do for us.
Yeah, so this is a great example because California, the minimum wage, so someone who is working in the fields, they're going to be making $16 an hour. I can assure you that the undocumented workers who are picking your tomatoes, who are milking the cows, they are making far less. And the reason is that these companies can pay them a lot less because they don't have a lot of leverage. And so if you think about, okay, well, let's say those workers go away and you do find U.S. citizens who want to take these jobs, you're going to have to pay them a lot more. And what's really interesting is in some cases that could actually get passed down to us. You'll see your grocery prices rise. In another case, some of these food items are commodities that actually trade on an open market. Your dairy farmer doesn't set the price of milk. That's actually set on an open market. So if their labor costs go up, that could actually create a situation where a lot of dairy farmers just go out of business because they're not able to pay that increased labor and still make a profit. So kind of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see, but story will continue to follow. Kelly O'Grady, thank you so much for being with us.
All right, the battle continues to play out over President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks. The new administration is quickly taking shape, but as Doug Luzader reports from Washington this morning, some Democrats on Capitol Hill are already drawing lines in the sand as they do. Doug, good morning.
Good morning. The incoming Trump administration has really moved quickly here, and they're kind of ahead of the game in terms of putting names out there. But the confirmation processes that they'll have to go through here are going to be pretty difficult.
We see the motorcades come and go outside President-elect Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Florida. The administration in waiting is working fast, floating a raft of nominees, including now all of his cabinet choices. And the Republican tasked with counting the Senate votes next year also does not want to waste time.
What they're going to have is a timely vote in the United States Senate. We want to get that cabinet in place quickly.
And some Democrats in the Senate say they're open to at least considering some of the nominees.
I don't understand why it's controversial to say, hey, we're going to engage in that conversation.
But already one nomination has collapsed. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, who dropped out last week. Others are likely to face intense opposition, including Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Health and Human Services, and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard for the Director of National Intelligence. She, in particular, faced pointed criticism from one Democrat.
Russian-controlled media called her a Russian asset. So I do think that we have a real deep concern whether or not she's a compromised person.
I think it's insulting. It's a slur, quite frankly. There's no evidence that she's an asset of another country. She served this country honorably.
Okay, it gives you an idea, though, of how heated some of these confirmation hearings will be, and that position that Gabbard is nominated for, Director of National Intelligence, will be among the first, no doubt, that Republicans will try to get across the finish line because they want to get that national security team in place as soon as they can. Dina.
All right, Doug, good stuff as always. We'll see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Plans are starting to take shape with President-elect Donald Trump's newly created Department of Government Efficiency, headed up by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy.
As national correspondent Matt Galka tells us, even some Democrats believe the agency could do some good work.
Wealthy entrepreneurs Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy view their Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as a crusade to trim the federal bureaucracy.
We are going to take aim at the overgrown fourth branch of government
and finally restore self-governance in America again, where the people we elect to run the government once again become the ones who actually run the government, and in the process take care of massive cost overruns, massive federal spending.
DOGE promises recommendations that will cut costs and wasteful spending. Musk posted about a public report from the Government Accountability Office showing $247 billion of improper federal payments from 2022. Musk said it was just the tip of the iceberg.
Our federal budget is, $7 trillion a year now. It's hard to believe there's not some money in there that's being wasted.
Former Florida Democratic Congressman Patrick Murphy is in the construction industry now. He sees opportunity with what Musk and Ramaswamy are trying to do by eliminating red tape and regulation and possibly harnessing new technology like AI.
Let's tap into that. Let's bring these big minds into government so we get more from less, and then we can spend our tax dollars on other things or not tax as much.
The two entrepreneurs have already floated mandating federal employees return to office work 5 days a week, something Ramaswamy predicts would cause 25% of the workforce to leave. DOGE wouldn't necessarily have the power to mandate that order, and unions would very likely fight back to try and keep their members' jobs secure.
I don't want to make predictions, but I would imagine we're going to see some attempts to really shake things up that ultimately end up in the Supreme Court.
House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has already promised to create a DOGE subcommittee, chaired by Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gill.
The body of an Israeli rabbi who went missing in the UAE has been found. Israeli officials say Tzvi Kogan was murdered. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu referring to the killing as, quote, a heinous anti-Semitic terror incident. Kogan worked for an Orthodox Jewish group called Chabad in UAE. Israeli authorities are warning citizens against all non-essential travel to the Emirates.
בפתח דבריי אני רוצה להביע זעזוע עמוק בשמי, בשם כל חברי הממשלה, בשם אזרחי ישראל ובשם כל עם ישראל. מחטיפתו ורציחתו של צבי קוגן, זיכרונו לברכה, השם ייקום דמו. הרצח הזה בוצע באיחוד האמירויות. רצח של אזרח ישראלי ושליח חב"ד. זהו פיגוע טרור אנטישמי נפשע. אני שולח גם בשמכם תנחומים מעומק הלב למשפחת קוגן. מדינת ישראל תפעל בכל האמצעים ותמצא את הדין עם הרוצחים ושולחיהם. איש מהם לא ינקה. אני מאוד מעריך את שיתוף הפעולה עם איחוד האמירויות בחקירת הרצח. אנחנו נחזק את הקשרים בינינו, דווקא למול הניסיונות של ציר הרשע לפגוע ביחסי השלום בינינו. נחזק אותם ונפעל גם להרחיב את היציבות באזור.
Yes, the body is found in Al Ain, but the action happened in Abu Dhabi. From Abu Dhabi, they take it. So they are investigation to know exactly what happened now, and we waiting for the protocol of the officially government to send it us to know exactly what happened. Israelis did not have enemy today. The one enemy we have it, the terror, and Iran that support the terror. So this is the what we have, the indication. This is the direction of the investigation. I'm thinking that the Israeli and the also Emirati, they are not accepted and they are take it difficult, but no one could stop the relationship between two teams, two states. UAE is safe place, continue to bring or to found solution to accept Jewish that want to invest here, and I'm sure that lot of Jewish continue to invest here. No way to stop this relationship and this cooperation.
The actions the Israelis are taking are not a victory. They are war crimes. Issuing Netanyahu's arrest warrant is not enough. His execution warrant must be issued. Bombing people's homes is not a victory. These fools should not think that because they bomb people's homes, because they bomb hospitals, because they bomb civilian gatherings, they have achieved victory. No. No one in the world considers this a victory. This is not a victory. These are not victories. The crimes of the Zionist regime in Lebanon, Gaza and Palestine ultimately lead to the exact opposite of what they intend to achieve. Instead, they strengthen and intensify the resistance.
Трагическое развитие обстановки на Ближнем Востоке. Принципиальные позиции
Her şeyden önce Rusya kendisini koruyacak güce, kendisini koruyacak tedbirlere o da sahiptir. Sahip olmak durumundadır. Aynı şekilde bir NATO ülkesi olarak biz de kendimizi korumak ve kendimizi koruyacak adımları atmak durumundayız. Şu anda Ukrayna bizim komşumuz, Rusya bizim komşumuz. Onlarla da ikili ilişkilerimizi bu noktada korumak durumundayız. Bakanınız 3+3 bölgesel işbirliği platformu vesilesiyle.
Уважаемый господин президент,
yaklaşık 104 milyar dolar